Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope everyone's Wednesday has started off good. My name is Trisha Thomas. I'm a partner here at Fourlane, and I'm excited to share with you guys today the purpose of an estimate inside of QuickBooks. So before we get started, I've got a couple of reminders for you guys. Okay, so as I said, I have a couple of reminders. I want to remind everyone we do have a YouTube channel. So if you've missed any of our webinars, you can always find them on our channel at youtube.com/Fourlane. Also remember you can subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you're able to get notifications whenever new videos are uploaded. There's over 200 videos up there, and we add more every day. So please subscribe to that channel. That way, every time we upload something, you'll get that notification. Also, we would love for you guys to follow us on Facebook. Our Facebook group name is Fourlane QuickBooks Enterprise. So there's always lots of great information on there. We have people reach out and ask questions, so please feel free to join us and learn from us each day. I also want to remind everyone about our Fourlane on-demand support that we offer. The pricing is $25 per QuickBooks users per month for up to 5 users. The price drops to $20 per month for 6 users or more. And how it works, once we get you signed up, whenever you need a help, all it does is take a simple email to our help desk at Fourlane. We want you guys to include what's going on, the urgency level, and include the best time it is to contact you. So we'll send you out an email return within the hour, setting up that requested meeting time, and we can go over with you guys what's going on and get your issue solved. So you can see there's a lot of things we can help with: troubleshooting software issues, licensing problems, software installation. So if you want more information about that on-demand support we offer, please reach out. Okay, so let's get started. So what is the purpose of an estimate? So an estimate is used when creating a bid, a proposal, or a quote. Basically, think about it as creating this document. I like to think of it as a bid for work you plan to do with your customer. So think of that estimate as a budget for that project or job. The estimate itself can later be turned into a sales order, a purchase order, and of course our invoice. So inside of QuickBooks, estimates are non-posting transactions. So what that means is there's no financial impact when you create and save an estimate. That financial impact doesn't happen until some type of invoice is created. I tell my clients to think of an estimate as an agreement or contract between you and your customer on that work you're going to provide, whether it be goods and or services. So we have clients that reach out to us needing help with being able to track job cost and project profitability, especially in that construction industry. And so when we work with them and we create and redesign their QuickBooks file, we talk to them about our starting point for sales. It's got to start with that estimate. So by starting with that estimate, that gives them that reporting they need per project to be able to make sure that not only that they're staying on budget, but that project is hitting the projections that they were expecting. So when you think of job costing, what that means is a way to track the expenses for a job or a project and compare those expenses to the revenue of the project. So entering estimates inside of QuickBooks allows you to use the full range of job cost reports, and that keeps you online with that budget. Make sure you're staying on track. It also allows you to evaluate how accurate that estimate is, and that way it allows us to, if needed, adjust for future projects. So now let's kind of turn it over to our accounting file. So when you start off, this is our home screen, and you can see I do have the estimate set up, but let's take a look at when it comes to setting up your company file. You've got different options, and it's going to be based on when we talk about what that starting workflow is. For this session, our starting workflow is going to be at that estimate level. So you can see here at my company preferences, I've selected that I am going to create estimates and I am going to do progress invoicing. So this will determine what's on my home screen. If we're not going to use these things, we don't want to turn them on. You don't want to have all the bells and whistles that you're not using. Okay, so let's start off by creating an estimate and let's look at all of those different reporting benefits. So we can create an estimate from our home screen, or if you prefer to work in that customer center, it's the same exact thing. We can create new transactions at our customer center. So you can create single quotes for jobs, or you can provide estimates for multiple stages of a job, as I have here under my Trisha Thomas customer. So I've got a kitchen remodel and I've got a bathroom remodel. So however you want to structure and kind of think of it as, what do I want to see? At what level of detail am I looking for my job costing? And that's going to help drive and your structure setup at your customer and job level. So let's go ahead and create an estimate and let's go from there. Okay, so you can see I've got, it's Trisha is my customer, my kitchen remodel is my project or job. I really love how QuickBooks lays it out for you. You can see that, depending on your template structure, so this one of my favorite things is you can customize your templates. So I have clients that they want to, depending on their customer type, they want different types of layout for their bids. So some have, I want my commercial clients to see this type of layout for their project, and I want my residential clients to see this type for their quote or bid or proposal. And QuickBooks allows you to do that. So you can see here, I've got my drop down of my different templates for my estimates. And if I change that template, it changes the layout. So you can see this one, I named it estimate, and I've got different features turned on. And you can set it to where you can customize to where what you want your customer to see and what you want to see when you're actually building that bid, so on your screen. For example, today I'm going to use my bid estimate. So that way, there's a really great feature that I want to show you guys that a lot of my construction clients use when they're creating their bid, and it's this markup feature. So let me go ahead and add a couple of items. We're going to add plans, we're going to add demo, and let's add that we're going to do some floor framing. Let me add my quantities. And let me add what my cost. So this is going to be what my cost is for each of these. Okay, so what that market feature allows you to do when you think about building that bid is, what type of profit per line am I looking for? And so the markup allows you to put different percentage markups to see what that revenue would look like. So I can have different percentages per line. For this example, I'm just going to use 25%. So you guys can see that. Okay, so you can see here, this is my cost, this is my market percentage, and this is my revenue. You don't have to worry about your customer seeing this. This is just internal for you while you're building that project plan, while you're building that build. What they see is that revenue line and their total, okay? So again, same exact concept that we've always had, whether it is sales order invoice where we can customize our estimates, we can add any information we want. We can, have it to where they only see descriptions, they don't see items. All of that is still available. It's just the same structure that you've always had. It's just a different transaction type. Okay, so even if you give your customer a fixed price, this estimate where you break down each line item, it still needs to be in QuickBooks, and the level of detail in your item list will determine the preciseness of your job cost reporting. So I want to take you through, I'm going to save this. Again, this is non-posting, this is that contract, but I want to take you to the first report that I always show clients when they've created that estimate, and that's what I call their budget report. So coming down to our job reports, this is called job estimates versus actual, and I'm going to choose our kitchen remodel. Okay, So what you're seeing here is each one of those line items and what that estimated cost that I filled out. At this time, I haven't actually accrued any actual cost, so that's still at 0. And then that estimated revenue from that markup that I put. And of course, I haven't invoiced anything, so I don't have any actual revenue. So this is what we would call that job budget, that starting point for our project managers to be able to get started on their job and know what it is that they should be spending to stay in budget per line item. So you want to make sure to be able to have true job costing to really make sure we're staying in budget and we're profitable for our jobs, is you want to make sure that you're assigning all of your expenses to the jobs. So a couple of examples is your billable time. So you want to record hours spent on the job. You can do that with the weekly timesheet or single activity entry. You can assign the hours to the customer job. Each entry will automatically be checked in Billable if you're using that timesheet form. But always make sure you understand the timesheets are non-posting entries. So to actually have it populate on the report, you have to import, create a bill with that time or include that in an invoice so that you can see that on the job profitability or company financial. There's also should be job-related purchases, so materials that we purchase for our job, subcontractor services. Again, we get those in the system by a bill, a check, or a credit card to record those purchases. We need to just make sure that we're assigning it to the job. So in this case, any of those job-related purchases would have your customer section as Trisha Thomas bathroom remodel to be assigned as an actual cost on this job. And then every once in a while, I have a client that talks about tracking overhead expenses. Now, overhead expenses is not caused by any specific job, such as rent, office supplies, and shouldn't be assigned to a customer job. However, I have had clients that want to assign expenses on their job cost reporting. So to do that, we recommend just creating a dummy customer job called overhead, and that way you can assign your overhead costs to that fake or pretend job. So I want to just show you guys really quick what I'm referring to. So I'm just going to enter a bill so you guys can see it, and we'll just choose a diner. And I'm just going to choose an expense of, let's just choose our car and truck expense, and we'll choose it for $500. And so this is the key point when it comes to your job costing, is assigning it to that project or job so that it does get reflected on your job cost reporting. So we'll go ahead and we'll choose that kitchen remodel so you guys can see that. And if we come back over here to our budgets versus actuals, we now see that actual cost. And the reason why I wanted to show you guys how I did it at GL level is because I wanted to show you guys how it chose no item. And so that's what we talk about the structure is very important in creating those workflows. If we're creating a budget by line item, our costs also have to be at line item so that we can see that one-for-one estimated versus actual cost. Okay? I want to take you back to the estimate and show you some other really cool features. This one gets my construction clients really excited, and that is our change order feature. So this is a saved estimate. Our customer has accepted it. You can see that we have the option to mark it inactive if they didn't, but in this case, we're going to leave it active. And what we're going to do is the scenario is our customers come back and said, I love this bid, but I actually want to add some other things to it. Okay? And so the change order feature allows you to add items to your original estimate and mark them as a change order. So I'm going to do the same thing. Let me add a couple of items here, and we'll just say that this is 125, and we'll just do easy 125. And I'll do my same markup so that we are consistent across the board. Now, the difference is when I go to save this, of course, it's going to populate and say, hey, you're saving this transaction. Are you okay? But the really great thing is this change order. So what it's saying is we consider this a change order because this is a items you're adding after the estimate has been accepted, and do you want me to populate this as a change order? And so when we choose add, it now actually shows on the estimate so your customer can see the date of the change and what changed, and this will populate throughout all the way to the invoice. So I want to show you guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add another one so that you can see. We will show another change order. I'm just going to add 2 and 2. And this one I'm not going to change our cost just so that we can see. So again, it comes back and now we're having a second change order. So we can say add that. So you can see throughout the project how those change orders work, and makes it really great for tracking everything that's gone throughout this project, and your customer can see it so they've got that line of sight along with you. Okay, so now let's talk about some options for invoicing. Some clients like to wait until the project is totally complete and they invoice in full, and other clients invoice throughout depending on that contract schedule. So for example, this estimate is $32,000 and maybe the project is going to take 6 weeks to complete, but because of all the materials purchased and maybe the subcontractors, the client has put in the contract that we are going to invoice 10% every week until the project is done. Inside of QuickBooks, this is called progress invoicing. So let's walk through that process. So same as always, we're going to create an invoice, but if you look at it, you've got different options for creating invoices. You can create an invoice for the entire estimate, that 100%. I can create an estimate for a percentage of the entire estimate, or I can even invoice for selected items at different percentages. For this, we'll just do the standard and we're going to say 10%. And once I hit OK, it's going to create that invoice for me. It's going to break it down, pull everything from our estimate. You can see our change orders, and it's going to show what the estimated amount is, what those dollars are, what we're invoicing, so that you can see. Your client sees this, so the PDF copy, if you email this to your customer, they see this exact same format. So it's a really great layout for them to understand what you're invoicing. So I'm going to go ahead and save. This is now my financial impact in my accounting file. This is when I'm now recognizing my revenue. So let's take us back to our reporting for our job versus estimate. So we can now see that we have actual revenue that was added. So this is from our 10%. So again, our job budget, we can see where we're at on the revenue side of what we've estimated versus what we've actually invoiced. So another really great report when it comes to the project, the progress invoicing, is called the progress invoicing versus estimate. So this report shows all your active jobs. You can customize if I only want to focus on our one job, but it shows you your job status, so that active estimate. It shows you the total of the estimate for that, full job. It shows you that progress invoice amount that we've invoiced so far, and then it gives you what that percentage was that you invoiced for that progress invoice. So this allows you, again, when you start thinking about you're needing to look at financials, look at maybe cash flow of what's going to be coming, you can use this report to see where you've invoiced and what you're expecting. Okay, so when we create this estimate, when we create these invoices, there's other reports that get created based on that invoice, that estimate, and the transactions linked. So I want to kind of show you a couple of those in that job tracking piece. So under our reports and under jobs, you can see you've got lots of different options. So I'm going to just show you 3. So the first one I'm going to show you is called the work in progress summary. And again, this is all of my projects. I can customize and I can filter for a specific job if that's what I want to see. So this report provides you a summary of all job-related information, including the estimated and actual cost, the percent complete, the estimated earned and actual revenue. So the earned revenue column shows the amount you've earned for the job. but haven't yet billed your customer. The actual revenue column shows you the amount you've previously invoiced to your customer. This is a really great report to be able to track, where I'm at in each job. What do I have left to complete? When you think about scheduling out your different projects, this allows that project manager to see where we're at. Another report that clients like is the committed cost per job. Okay, so this report shows you what's expected to be paid out to employees and vendors and subcontractors. Think of that committed cost. So it could be your purchase orders. So it's things that haven't been paid, depending on if you're cash basis, or created at transaction, bill, check level by your accounting team. So this allows your project management team to understand how their expected expenses are comparing to that project budget. Okay, another report a lot of my clients liked is what we call the unbilled cost by job. So this report provides a list of costs that you assign to a specific customer or job that have not yet been billed as a reimbursable expense. I'm going to talk to you guys about reimbursable expenses in a moment. So this shows how much unbilled cost apply to each client. If you've done more than one project or job for a customer, it will show you the subtotal for each job. So now let's talk about the reimbursable expenses. So this feature is under your preferences. And at the very bottom of your setup, it's called time and expenses. And so again, when it goes back to how are we going to set up our workflows, what are we tracking? If we charge our customers for our expenses directly, then we want to have our accounting file do the work for us. So this is saying mark all time entries billable. So if I create a timesheet, I want those that are linked to a customer to be marked billable, meaning I'm going to charge my customer for those. And then mark all expenses as billable. So what this is saying is that when I create a vendor expense for a customer, I want to charge my customer for that expense. So I want you to create my unbilled AR expense for that. So I want to show you where that works. So coming back to my enter bills, I'm going to enter a new one. And I want to show you, and this time I'm going to choose an item from our list. And we're going to say 5. And I'm going to say it's 125. And I'm going to link it to my kitchen remodel. And you can see that it automatically checked billable. So this is that key piece that is allowing your accounting file to do the work for you. By checking this box, I'm telling the system, create an uninvoiced AR, because I'm going to charge my customer directly for this. Now, sometimes in the construction industry, we don't do that. We charge them that fixed bid and we're saying, to complete that bathroom remodel, it's going to cost us XYZ, and we don't want to charge directly for time and materials. And that's in that workflow setup that we would work with you guys on. So let's go ahead and save this. And then I want to show you where this populates. So under the customer center, there's something called an income tracker. And the income tracker gives you an overview of what's going on your sales side. So you can see my outstanding estimates. You can see where they're at, what the total was, what the open balance is, what the status is. I can perform some actions from there. I can convert it to an invoice. I can make it inactive. This is that time and expense section. So this is where I've told the system to create that uninvoiced transaction. So here's that kitchen remodel for that $500 where I'm telling the system that I'm going to invoice. And so again, I've got some action items where I can create an invoice or I can choose the billable items if there was multiple items. And then this is our invoicing side. So what is open? What have we invoiced? and then of course what we've paid and overviews. So it gives you just kind of a high level on what you've got going on your sales side of things. So I'm just going to populate an invoice for this kitchen remodel so that you can see what happens with this uninvoiced item. So if I go to create invoice, let me start fresh. And I'm going to choose our kitchen remodel. And you're going to say that it popped up. Oh, and first it wants me to, and I'm going to say no estimate. And it's going to pop up and it's going to say you have outstanding billable time and cost to add to this invoice. And so it's asking you, do you want to add them to the invoice or do you want to exclude them? I'm just going to hit OK so you guys can see it. And depending on what you have assigned for those billable items, you'll see it in your different tabs. So you can see if I had time, in this case, I have that expense that I created. And if I had mileage, you can track mileage. And then I have that secondary where I created that demo. So you can see that I can populate these. If I go ahead and select each one, it's going to come in here. It's going to populate. It's going to let me choose. I can change amounts if I want to because it's going to pull directly what the cost of the expense was. So I can change that. And as usual, add any information that we want to. Okay, so we always tell our clients the more data you put into your accounting file, the more reporting you have available. And that is exactly the case with having your workflow start with the estimate. It allows you to track not only the profitability of a project, but all of the costs that are put into that project to complete it. So before I end today's session, let's look and see if we have any questions. And we do not. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this session. I hope you got a lot out of it. As always, we would love to work with you to set up your accounting file the way you need, create these workflows that you need. So thank you all for joining today. I appreciate it, and reach out to us for any information that you need on anything I shared today. Thank you so much.